What's up, everybody? We're back. Episode 20, the End of the Bench Show, where the fans go. Joined here again by Pat on his weekly spot. Pat, what's going on, man?
What's up, bud? How's everything?
Crazy. You know, I decided last minute to take tomorrow off of work.
No.
So
Well-needed day.
Yeah, a very well-needed day. I've worked, 14, 17 straight days. Definitely need a day off.
You deserve it.
So then, you know, obviously 5:30, get an email of something that I have to do by tomorrow. So that's great.
Usually how it works.
I missed my sister's birthday dinner. It's Allie's birthday. Happy birthday, Allie.
Happy birthday, Allie.
That's yeah.
You need to take a day. Everyone needs that mental health day. I think you well surpassed that day.
Well, I'm taking two because I had Friday off already because I'm going to Massachusetts for a bachelor party. So I said, you know what, fuck it, let's take tomorrow off.
Are you still going?
Yeah, we're going.
Oh, all right.
Because my buddy has a lake house in Cheshire, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So, and it's only like 8 of us. Like it's, you know, it's our own house. Like we feel pretty good, like safety wise, due to like COVID to do it.
That's cool.
You know, so
it's good that they're still having it. So I know a lot of people probably had to cancel their just weddings, but bachelor parties, graduation parties, all that shit. So,
it was supposed to be in Nashville in April, which we had to cancel. So I mean, this is like a makeup thing, but so yeah, I mean, the show has been busy. I recorded last night with Prokowski, which everyone started to listen to that, and then I went live on Instagram with Cassie today about something I'm going to let you touch on. And now we're doing this. But one thing, you know, to go back to my episode with Prokowski yesterday, I put on Instagram, you know, let me know your thoughts on Rob Manfred, because this is coming off him sounding like a babbling buffoon. Maybe he still does. But anyway, Pat, I did not know when you put like questions on your Instagram story, you don't get notifications that people respond. So like I was sitting there all day. I was like, I can't believe no one responded to this story. Like not like being pompous or anything, but like I thought people would have something to say. So I look at my phone today and I'm like, why do I have like 8 messages on Instagram? And it's everyone replying from the story. And I felt so bad because my full intention was to read them yesterday on the pod. So I replied to them all on Instagram, but I want to give everyone their due on the pod. So I'm gonna read through these. We'll start with the Landy Lodge. He posted 3 replies. So Rob Manfred, what are your thoughts? He's a steaming pile of dog shit who does nothing but lick the owner's boots. Can't say I disagree. He is also obsessed with bringing in quote-unquote new fans instead of catering to those of us who already love baseball.
Absolutely.
And then he said one that I wasn't going to put on Instagram, so I'll say the end of it, and you guys can insinuate or predict, rather, what he said before it. He can choke on radioactive semen. So obviously there's only one way to choke on semen. I think you guys can get there yourselves. Good friend Chris Vogel, he hit me with a ton of Michael K. show drops. He's a clown pirate. He's a D-nozzle. He's a yo-yo. He's a window licker. He's a mouth breather. All extremely good adjectives to describe one Rob Manfred.
Absolutely.
Our friend Joe Santangelo, at Joe Asks Questions on Instagram, he said he is not an efficient communicator. Can't say I disagree. I think he's also given a pretty terrible script to work with most of the time because obviously he says what the owners want to say.
He is the owner's puppet. I mean, the commissioner is there to protect the owners. I mean, he's paid basically by the owners. So he has to do whatever he can to maintain that relationship, even if it means completely screwing with the actual product that's put on the field.
Yep. And Joe also has his own wrestling Instagram it's at Wrestling Business Daily. So anyone who's interested in wrestling, give Joe a follow there too. He does really great work, good videos and good content overall. So thank you, Joe, for responding to them. Pat, you also chimed in, so I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna let you run with it. You said you were the absolute worst commissioner. Rob Manfred is the absolute worst commissioner. Sorry, Pat, in the history of the game.
Okay.
So Pat, obviously we got some new news today regarding baseball that Cassidy and I touched on. But I want to give you the opportunity, as always, to kind of share your thoughts. Like, what do you think the offer really means? And is it positive or whatever? The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, you've already discussed everything that the proposal basically states, so I'm not really going to get too into it. Other than it seems to be hitting most of the check marks that the players want. I mean, 60
Mm-hmm.
games is not ideal, but it's not 50, which is what Manfred could have easily initiated. And the biggest thing there is obviously they get the full prorated salary, which is what they were looking for. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's the waiving of the potentially filing of grievance against the commissioner's office.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Now, I can't say for sure if the players are going to take it or not, but this is pretty big in terms of if they can't file a grievance, maybe maybe that's just something they want to do with the way that everything has been run. It's almost clear that the owners have not been negotiating in good faith with the players.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing absolutely everything that they can to short arm them, hamstring them, basically. And I mean, up until today, basically, when the proposal came out, it's pretty obvious that Rob Manfred does not care about the sport, and he was willing. I mean, it may be more the owners than him, but both, I should say, the owners' side, which includes
Mm-hmm.
the commissioner's office, seem to be ready to watch the sport burn to the ground, and it's an absolute travesty that 6 to 8 owners are willing to say no to a season this year just so they can save their bottom line.
Yeah.
It's absolutely pathetic. Those owners should not be owners of a professional franchise if they're not trying to get the franchise on the field.
Right. I mean,
I
I
mean,
think.
I could go on all about this, but I mean, you've
Yeah.
talked about it a lot today, and it's just I'm not getting my hopes up yet. I'd like to see both sides come to an agreement, and it has to be done like now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be true. We're not going to have baseball for 2020.
Yeah. I want to address a few things you said. So I think the 6 to 8 owners allegedly saying they don't want baseball to happen. 8 is the key number because I think if 7 say no, like that's all they need or something, or they need. I think they need 23 yeses. So I think eight's obviously not good because that'll be 22. So that's not good. But it made me think, Pat. And I don't like to do this often. Um, when you own something, right? Like you would think you own something that you care about, that you
Yeah.
want to do. Like on a very small scale, I own the end of the bench. I bought the domain. I bought. I have the Zoom subscription, so we could do this. I paid the Landy Lodge for creating the site and developing it, and I renew the domain every year, whatever.
Yes.
Very small amount of money, in relation to MLB. But I wouldn't if I do it because I want to.
Exactly.
Like I don't like I don't get. I mean, look, we get stuff from it now, but when we just had the site, we didn't really get anything. But like we do it for fun. Like this whole thing is done for fun, and we make a difference with No Kid Hungry, and et cetera, et cetera. But it just baffles my mind how like you could put hundreds of $1 million into an investment like baseball, and you just don't care. Like it brings me to my point. Like owning a sports team, I don't want to say for every owner because I think there are owners that genuinely do care, but for the most part, it's a status icon and it's the ultimate toy. And I think that's what we're really seeing with baseball right now, and I think it's sad. I really do. I really think it's sad. I hope like I did a walk today, so I did a lot of thinking, but like it makes me think like what? I hope Steve Cohen comes in and buys the Mets again. I hope A-Rod comes in and buys a team because Steve Cohen's like a super fan, and A-Rod I know cares about baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100% with you. It is, and it's the fact that there are actually executives and owners out there who are saying that the sport is not profitable. It's an absolute joke and a downright lie to anybody who heard that quote, especially knowing that the last several years they've only increased in profit. Last year was it was a $10 billion industry, and now owners are saying that they don't make money. They also, I believe, we just got a new $1 billion TV deal with TBS. Don't tell us that the sport isn't profitable because that's not true. When there are teams out there that are literally worth billions upon billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And then they're worried about losing money for this 1 year that they'll easily make up again in the next year or so. So it just goes to show you how greedy and cheap that these owners are willing to be just so they don't have to pay their players. I mean, the other thing with the grievance, going back on the grievance that the players could potentially file, that goes up going to such as an arbitrator. And if the owner's side lose, they may have to open up their books to prove exactly how much revenue they are taking in.
Yeah.
And that could open up a whole can of worms in terms of, the amount that they're actually able to pay players and, what they are holding back. So, yeah, case in point, like, if you don't want to play a season this year, if you don't want to have your team, your product out on the field, just sell it right now to someone who does. Take your money and run, because clearly all you care about is controlling the investment. Sell your team now. That way you don't have to worry about potentially any losses.
Yeah, me and Perk talked about the DeWitt family who owns the Cardinals last night, because he's been somewhat vocal. I mean, the dude bought the Cardinals for $150 million. I read that, like, if he sold it, he could probably get like $4 billion. That's like
Exactly.
that's like 27 times your investment. So, I mean, yeah, baseball owners really shouldn't cry
They shouldn't push the narrative that they don't have the money or that baseball isn't profitable. We all know that is a lie. I mean, yes, attendance has been down in recent years, but revenue continues to go up. So that's just a bold-faced lie when they tell us that it's not profitable. And then when it comes to the attendance, Manfred and Co. are trying to do all these different things to try and market to a younger crowd or anything, but he's not doing it well. I mean, this is something we can get into a little bit more when we talk about our discussion topic.
Yeah, we will.
But I'll just save it for that then. I mean, in terms of how to better market or what they should be doing compared to what they are doing.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to touch on this, because I did learn some more things after I did the Instagram Live with Cassidy at the _ on the bench. Put the IGTV video up there so you guys could watch it if you didn't see it. I saw Passan tweeted that essentially it's the same amount of money as the last offer. So right there, I think it sounds great. Fully prorated, extended playoffs. I think the players should be happy. It's a positive step, but I think they're still gonna reject it, and I definitely do not think that they are going to easily accept not being able to file a grievance, because
I think that end up might be the thing.
Unless Pat, I don't want to cut you off, but unless the players view baseball putting that in as like a win, because that to me would say, oh, they don't want us to do it because they know we would win. So
that's true.
It's gonna be look, we're telling you guys won, but now do you want to play? Like, I think they put it in there to kind of spin it on the players, try to make them look bad if, like,
I mean, that's the entire narrative they've been pushing through this whole thing. It's the players that are being the greedy ones in terms of everything. But I mean, for those fans who are actually paying attention and seeing the players' reactions and everything on Twitter and Instagram and all different social media, we know. I mean, we don't obviously know exactly what the proposal states, but we know how the players feel, and we're not falling for the players are being the greedy ones. The owners are doing what they can. So
we're not stupid.
We're not stupid. We're too smart, especially in today's world with all the technology and social media that we have access to. So the owners can.
And we also have just access to, like, tons of other modes of entertainment. So if you want to insult me and tell me I'm an idiot, then I'm just like, all right, fuck you. I'll go spend my time somewhere else because I have tons of other stuff to do.
Again, hurting the sport. Yeah. And that's why I'm really afraid of a strike. And I honestly think after all this is said and done, I think we're looking at one straight up. I kind of have like no doubts at this point.
I think so too. And there's to segue us, there will be no steroid era coming to save baseball, right?
Exactly. And again, that's something we'll talk about when we get into our topic. But I'm actually looking forward to talking about it because, I mean, go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah. So Pat and I shouldn't say Pat and I. ESPN put on Long Gone Summer, the documentary of the 1998 season, right, Pat? Between Sosa and McGwire, the chase to become the single season home run king, past Roger Maris is 61 total. Or basically, I mean, ESPN's been doing a lot of these documentaries that obviously all kicked off with The Last Dance, which was absolutely incredible. You know, I think now going into every 30 for 30, every documentary that they do, I compare to The Last Dance, which probably isn't fair.
No, it's completely.
But they also did the Lance Armstrong one, which, you know, I didn't think was that great. Probably because I don't like cycling, because I know a lot of people did think it was very good.
I personally didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any.
Yeah, I mean, I when you told me that you didn't watch it, I was like, all right, I don't really care. I wasn't mad. I watched the Bruce Lee one, the Be Water. I watched it over the weekend. They aired that, I guess, 2 weeks ago at this point. I thought it was pretty good. It was it was not what I was expecting. You know, it got a lot into like the Hollywood and like the racism in Hollywood side. I don't know like why I was expecting something different. But overall, I mean, it was good. It was 2 hours. You know, I think it's worth the time if you have nothing to do and you want to watch it. But this past weekend, obviously, Long Gone Summer. Pat, I want to just real easy to start off. Did you like it or did you not like it?
I was a fan of it.
Really?
Because
okay.
I did. I liked them diving into the home run race. It was nice seeing like Sosa and McGwire talk about, you know, the season and everything like that. The reason for it is because, you know, we were growing up during that time. That was the start of the steroid era, which is what, you know, us fans and our age and, you know, a couple fans younger or whatever, that's kind of what brought us into loving the game of baseball. And I feel like the 98 season really kickstarted it for a guy like me, who, you know, we were 6 years old, started to play organized baseball at that point. I feel like that was absolutely a driving factor into me loving the sport as I do now. I don't know how others feel. I understand, you know, how a lot of people feel about McGwire and Sosa and the steroid era in general. But just in terms of the documentary, great documentary. I loved it. It really kind of opened our eyes to certain things. So, yeah, I mean, I was a fan. I don't know about you, but
I legitimately cannot disagree with you more. I think like what you're saying for nostalgia purposes, did I like it? You know, in that respect, yes, I liked how it, you know, it brought me back to childhood, and really like, because I was 5. I mean, you were 6, I was 5. I didn't really like remember like watching or like, you know, being captivated by it at that time like you were. So it was cool to see, you know, looking back on, you know, I think if that were to happen today, it'd be like, I mean, I'd be doing a podcast every fucking day on it. Like on the home run race, but I didn't think it was like that well done. Like I didn't like how it was very Mark McGwire heavy. Like I wanted to see a lot more of Sammy because I think Sammy's more likable, and he's just Mark McGwire was like a dud to me. Like he didn't do anything for me.
So it wasn't so much the it is the content, but how they produced it.
Yeah, I guess like I wanted to learn like more than I did.
Okay.
Like, you know, like
what were you looking to get out of it?
I wanted to see more into like the investigation into McGwire and Sosa.
Yeah, see, I mean that's in theory that's not what the thing was about. It was just about the home run.
I know, but that's what I mean 2 hours, Pat. I mean, you got 2 fucking hours. You can't give me something like that?
Well, I mean, we already know how those two were involved. I mean, everyone who knows the story of them going to Congress and McGwire saying, you know, I'm not here to talk about the past. Sosa basically forgetting to speak English.
I thought that was I died laughing when that came.
Yeah, I mean that we already know the story. McGwire has, you know, 10 years ago he came out and said, yes, I did take performance-enhancing drugs. Sosa has continued to dance around the question of if he did it. I mean, I don't know who noticed it, but like when they asked, how do you feel? You know, have you ever taken it? He goes, why are you asking me? Yeah, everyone else is doing it. Why am I the one coming at you? I'm happy now. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I mean, I agree with him.
So, yeah. But, I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked everything that came along with it because I was able to make a connection to kind of like what is going on right now in baseball. Now, for those who know, and most baseball fans should know at this point, the 1994 season ended with a player strike that many thought was going to be the end of the sport as a whole. Very similar to nowadays, owners weren't willing to pony up extra money that the players were promised. I don't know the exact details of the 94 strike. I didn't get a chance to really look fully into it. But obviously, any strike, it's between employer and employees. So you kind of get an idea of what was going on. And it mirrors what is potentially happening right now, X amount of years later, that we're almost in the same boat, with the CBA about to expire and everything that's going on right now for the 2020 season. It mirrors it so well. And then, 98 happened with McGwire and Sosa, and, you got young guys like Griffey and everything like that. Well, not young guys like Griffey. Griffey was, in his starting to enter his prime and everything there, but you know what I mean? Yeah. These guys going out there and just trying to just literally clobbering the ball, home runs after home run after home run, something that we as sports fans of that sport have never seen. It was something that really was, it did save the sport. I mean, and absolutely. As we get into, what we're thinking now, after this whole thing happens, we're not going to have a steroid era after this. I mean, the steroid era, as much as people may hate it, call those guys cheaters, say what you will, but that steroid era saved Major League Baseball. I mean, it's unfortunate the way everything came out at a later time, but that steroid era saved Major League Baseball. McGwire and Sosa saved Major League Baseball. Barry Bonds saved Major League Baseball. And we don't have that now. Going forward, we're not going to have a steroid era, what's going to save baseball this time around? I mean, that's why a lot of people are like kind of not, I wouldn't say concerned, but they're wondering like, all right, we had the strike, steroid era saved it. Now we're having a potential strike here. What's going to save it after this?
Right, and I think it's like important to know because I do get questions from people like, well, why does baseball need an era, to fix itself? And the simple answer is, which is the only answer in my opinion, is it's just too much of a team sport. Like, basketball has went through the same types of problems, and what happened? Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came, and then Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant came, and then LeBron came, and now Giannis is here, and the young talent is off the charts, so it's in very good hands. Like, every sport goes through these cycles. The problem is that baseball being such a long sport, long game to watch, long season, they need something. I don't want to say they need something like steroids, but they need an exciting storyline to live throughout the whole season for it to really captivate like the general public.
And this is also where the better marketing has to come into play for Major League Baseball. I was watching Long Gone Summer again, and they were basically talking about, after the end of that 98 season, Sosa and McGwire were being told by, it was either their respective teams or the league, that they're going to do all these different appearances and do all these different photo shoots. Like, the league was willing to push them so that people realized, saw these guys off the field, marketed them so they could get them to the ballpark the next season. Rob Manfred and company do not believe that. Rob Manfred literally had come out and said, if Mike Trout wants to be marketed, then he should be doing the marketing. No, as your job is to expand and grow the sport of the game, a major way to do that is to market your players the correct way. They were marketing players better back in the late 90s with what they were doing there than they do now. And now we have all these different technologies. You have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it may be. It's so much easier to be able to market these guys, and they're still not doing it the proper way.
I agree, and I think I actually just thought of this as you were speaking. Say doomsday scenario, baseball has a strike. How will baseball regain popularity again? I think because when McGwire and Sosa were doing the thing, there was no social media, so they couldn't control their own public perception or what. I mean, to an extent, you still can't, but I think you see a lot of players now speaking out on Twitter about all of this, and they're going on the podcast like, John Boy Media and Talking Baseball doing a great job getting a bunch of guests. And I think the existence of social media and the players, ability and clear desire at this point to use it, for a large part, will eventually help baseball, even if there is a strike, because these players are going to be tweeting more than ever. At that point, they'll be going on shows more than ever. And I think that hopefully this never happens, first of all. But if it does, hopefully that continues and fans and the general public catch on to those guys and give a shit about them.
Right. But I mean,
give a shit about baseball. But
but it comes back to, though, it's not the players. I don't want to say responsibility, but it's not their priority.
It's fair
to have to market themselves. Their teams in the league should be doing it for you. Or at least fair. Pushing it. Like, years ago, probably everyone, you didn't even have to like baseball. You knew who Derek Jeter was. As unfortunate as it is to say, there are probably people out there who aren't baseball fans. The people who aren't baseball fans, they knew who Derek Jeter was. Nowadays, if you ask Mike Trout, people would be like, don't know who that is. Like, that's the problem. You're not – if Jeter was the same way. Jeter did, episodes of shows, and he was on talk shows and like all these big names back in the late 90s, early 2000s. They did these things. You don't see that anymore today, which is unfortunate. I think, after every season, have your award winners go and start doing, various things. Go on, Jimmy Fallon or go on these various radio shows and all that. Let them talk about the season. Let them talk about their life. Get to know them a little bit more. That's how you're going to be able to grab the crowd that you're trying to get. I think they just need a complete overhaul in terms of how they're marketing, or I should say their lack of marketing, trying to get people into the ballpark.
Yeah, and I know, look, you're a PR guy, so I totally expect you to have that opinion. However, I do think, just to play a little devil's advocate, I do think some of that also falls on the players. Like, you should also want to market yourself, because then you can get, endorsements, get in front of more people. Like, yes, I agree baseball has to do a better job, but I think the players are starting to kind of see how much of an impact they could have on themselves just by being active on social media and doing all these things. And hopefully that carries over.
Right. We do see several players who are very active on social media. One of the biggest guys is Trevor Bauer, who actually started his own media company, Momentum Sports. He's constantly doing videos with like Mike Clevenger and a bunch of other people, which is good. He's doing that himself. So there are guys who are able to do it, but then you got guys who are very quiet and may not want to have to do that themselves. Guys like Mike Trout or whatever. That shouldn't lie on him. The fact that Manfred said that is what makes people so aggravated. The fact so you're saying that the players not only do what they do on the field, they now have to do what they can off the field to get people to come to the games, which is something that you want. What they're doing on the field should be enough to bring people in. It's now your job to show the world what they're doing. Let them understand. Get to know them a little bit more, and that way you can get them in the stadiums.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we're kind of saying we're landing at the same point. I think
we're getting at the same point. We're just taking two different roads to get there. Yeah,
I think, baseball is definitely responsible for marketing their players, but I think players also have to take a bit of initiative on, like, the extracurricular things they could do to market themselves and, in turn, the game. But I think
there's a lot of
regardless.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that the MLB should be a lot of takeaways that the MLB is doing that they should take from the NBA and the NFL. I think those two leagues, more specifically the NBA, is a very player-driven league. You got fans, people who are fans of the players more than they are of teams. I don't know how many people I've seen like, oh, what team are you? What team fan are you? They're like, oh, I'm not really a team fan. I'm a LeBron fan, or I'm a Melo fan, or they don't care what team they play for, and that's their prerogative. They absolutely have that right. You're not going to really see that in baseball that much, I don't think. So it's important to try and market the sport and the teams as a whole. The players, yes, should be able to do their own marketing, but ultimately I think it comes down to the league has to do something, get them on, get them in the media, get them on TV, get them on radio, get their names out there so people know who they are and so that they'll want to tune in and watch.
100%. 100%. So next thing I want to talk to you about in regards to Long Gone Summer, why did I have to wait 30 minutes to see Sammy Sosa? Was he still in makeup or like what was going on?
I mean, I don't know. I think ultimately it's, Long Gone Summer, it was about the home run race, but it was Mark McGwire who's the one who set the record. So, I mean, he's going to be the guy that people will immediately think of. But I do agree. Sammy, I mean, even if you watched it, to those listeners, I'm saying, of course, I know you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they even talked about how Mark was kind of just there, just going day by day, doing what he had to do. And Sammy was the one who was trying to, get people to laugh, get excited. And they even said that, Sammy was like, yeah, I'm having fun. Mark's just going to do his thing. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my thing, but I'm going to do it with a bigger smile on my face or, whatever it is he said.
Yeah.
But I can't answer why he was only in a portion of it. I mean, he got cut out. I think there was like a half hour left in the show, and he had already been done for the day.
Yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say I like that. I would like to hear from him more often, but maybe it was also a restriction of what he was willing to talk about. You also got to think of it like that. Maybe it got to a point where they were asking questions that he was just like, I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't know why he was in it so little. I don't know why either. My guess would be is because it was really about Mark McGwire, and then Sammy Sosa came in second, whatever it may be. It could be maybe because Sosa didn't want to answer certain questions, and it almost seemed that way when he was asked certain questions towards the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, because it just seems like he's very much at peace, and just doesn't want to bring it back up. But I think what they did, in having so little Sammy Sosa, like, let me back up. Who do you like more, Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire? Like, I think personality, not like
personality-wise. Personality-wise, it was Sammy Sosa.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt about that.
So the guy that most people probably like more is Sammy, and they kind of paint him as like a villain with how they end his scene. And then they prop Mark up the whole time, who is not as likable as Sammy Sosa, just as a person. And then it ends with him being inducted into the Cardinals Hall of Fame or whatever they actually call it, in like a super awkward ending, first of all. But it ends like with him kind of like being, I don't want to say like being treated like a god, but it's like, all's well with Mark McGwire. He's this positive figure now. He's coaching in baseball, and Sammy Sosa is in denial still.
Still vilified.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just weird. I think they like tried to.
I guess the way people see it is, McGwire came clean. He admitted it. He admits he wished he never did it. All of that stuff. And Sammy continues to, like I said, he continues to kind of beat around the bush. He kind of walks around, tiptoes around the question when he asks. Like, if you were to ask him, did you take performance-enhancing drugs? And be like, why are you coming at me? Everyone was taking them. I'm happy with my life. That's what he said in the documentary. And he danced around the question, like, did you take it? He still has refused for so many years to answer negatively to it, or positively to it. I mean, yeah, he may have said in the past that he didn't take it, but then there are reports, Mitch report, a Balco scandal, whatever it was, that he actually is named in it. And majority of those people who were named have come out and said yes, they've done it. So it's like, we kind of already got you on the ropes. Why don't you just come clean with it or whatever? And he refused to do that, which is his prerogative. He doesn't have to do it, but I think that could be a major reason why he continues to be vilified by the Cubs organization, because they haven't invited him back since he left the Cubs in like 2004. I think ultimately that's wrong, especially seeing how the Cardinals and the Athletics have treated Mark McGwire. He's in both of their teams' Hall of Fames, and the Cubs continue to kind of ignore Sammy Sosa, who arguably outside of like Ernie Banks, is one of the most exciting players in franchise history. You can't really deny that. I mean, Sammy Sosa was the Cubs in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's really hard to kind of just wipe away that part of history.
Yeah, and the Cubs were supposed to be bad that year. Remember, because like they had that reporter. They're like, all right, well, I guess we're just gonna, cover the phenom Kerry Wood and hope for the best. And then they're in the fucking playoffs. I mean, large part due to Sammy. Obviously, things were involved in that, but I think I mean, look, I understand the Cubs saying, look, you're being a little shady. We don't want to invite you back, whatever. But my question to them is, okay, so if he says, oh yeah, I did steroids after all this time, he comes out actually says it, then you're gonna invite him back? No, you're still not gonna.
They're not gonna do so. At this point, you just accept them. Bring them back, and this goes on the pretty much most of those who have been alleged PED users or anything. Guys like Bonds and Clemens and all those guys. If they it's hard to erase that part of history. What I'm getting at, basically. I mean,
yeah, and I think we'll stay there when I ask you this question. I mean, this is the natural question that I think jumps to people's heads after they watch a doc like this. Steroid users, do they belong in the Hall of Fame? And Cass and I touched on this a little on a prior episode. I mean, I think they should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think every steroid. I think there are steroid users that are better than others, and I don't think they should just be automatically blackballed. But I actually don't know how you feel about it.
All right, so for years I was a guy who was completely against the steroids. Like the steroid era kind of like really hurt me, seeing all these guys that they weren't doing it all natural or whatever it is like that. But as you get older, you realize that even without steroids, some of these guys are still the greatest to ever play the game. There's no doubt that Barry Bonds is one of the greatest hitters to ever step foot on a field. There's no doubt Roger Clemens is one of the greatest pitchers to ever step on the mound. Guys like that were already Hall of Famers before their alleged PED use. I know when we've done our mock Hall of Fame ballot the last several years, I have put Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens on mine because I think it's getting to the point where, like you can't just keep them out forever. I mean, and there's already alleged users in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's not like you can't really pick and choose. Like just because, Bonds he blew up like a Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade balloon. That doesn't mean really anything. There are guys who could be not have the shining muscles or whatever that took steroids. Like you don't know, especially if we're talking about integrity. That's why you're keeping them out. You have domestic abusers, you have racists, you have other drug users already in the Hall of Fame. Like, don't give me the integrity part when a guy who hits his wife or literally hates any other race other than white is worse than a guy who took some drugs to hit the ball a little farther. Like,
exactly.
I mean, come on.
I also think that, look, the Hall of Fame is not. I mean, it technically is. It tells this. It's a museum. The Hall of Fame is a museum. It's painted in a brush where only the elite players are mentioned, and enshrined. But that's simply not true. Like it's supposed to tell the history of baseball, and you can't tell the history of baseball without some of these steroid users.
Exactly.
If you want the Hall of Fame to be a museum, they have to be in there. They don't. I mean, they don't have to be. There are obviously some you could leave out because they just may not deserve it. But
exactly,
it's not like a great career kid kind of like award. It's literally you were good enough to have to be told in the history of baseball. And the steroid users, for a large part, whether it's Bonds, Clemens, McGwire, Sosa,
whoever else
can't tell it without them.
Yeah, no. I mean, everyone will say like, "Oh, they're the poster boys for the steroid era." I'm like, but the steroid era was a major part of Major League Baseball history. You can't tell the history of baseball and then just skip those 10 years. Like that's not how it works.
Especially when you just think of because maybe steroids are out of the game now. We'll operate under that lens. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, like you said, this race made you interested in baseball. So if you extrapolate that out, that means Nolan Arenado probably liked baseball because of Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. So you're going to say eventually oh, you were influenced by the steroid era, so you can't go in. Like you
Yeah,
could
I mean,
easily draw that line.
yeah, you can. It really is crazy how there are still people like, oh no, they cheated. Like, absolutely not. And you can ask them, who was your favorite player, and they could give an answer, and they'd be like, okay, I guarantee you, there's something about him that makes it
Yeah.
10 times worse than what taking some drugs.
And
Like,
honestly, what McGuire and Sosa have, like, it wasn't really cheating because there was no like rules.
at that point, there really wasn't. There was no, like, a
So-
lot of the stuff that they were taking. Clearly, it wasn't something
Yeah.
that they should be taking, but there was nothing. I mean, there really was no, PED policy
It was
at
the
that
Wild
point.
Wild West.
Yeah, I mean, Bud Selig, who I think so many people miss at this point,
Yeah.
we all knew like what he was doing at that point. He knew what was going on. He knew what players were taking, and then all this stuff came out. He tried to, sweep it on the rug, be like, I had no idea. All right, we get that. You want to do that, whatever. I mean, it's messed up. But we also have to thank Bud Selig because we don't know what the game would be like if that 98 season didn't occur. I mean, if we look at the attendance numbers from like 98 to maybe like 2008, I'm sure the numbers will back up that that's when people really started watching baseball again.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what we have to thank, the young crop of talent, in the game today is largely, I mean, Pally, I'm 26, you're 27. These kids are younger than us right now. But, look, they were definitely influenced by this era. I mean, I was listening to Talking Baseball today, and John Boy did one of his baseball reference like deep dives, and he said in 2019 there were 6 players under the age of 23 with a wins above replacement of 4 or higher, which classifies you as like an all-star, I think.
Yeah.
Formulaically. And there was 6, which was the highest ever.
I'm already thinking of a couple of them in my head, like who.
You could try to name them. I
would say Soto, Glaber.
Glaber wasn't on it.
He wasn't. Oh, okay.
The only people I remember are Ozzy Albies.
Okay.
Fernando Tatis.
I didn't know he was full-blown player last year.
Yeah, I mean, this was on my walk, so I wasn't paying attention fully, but
I get where you're going with it.
But yeah, like the game is in good hands now, which is largely due to like the influence that like McGuire and Sosa had on the youth.
Yeah, we have the stars to really carry it. We have those young things. Last year was let the kids play. We have the young kids who can easily carry the sport as the way we know. But now we have everything that's happening right now. Who knows who's going to be coming into the ballpark after this? Because there have been plenty of people who said that they're done, with the way the owners and the players are being so greedy or whatever it may be. Like, this is really hurting. It's a very reminiscent of 1994. I hope it doesn't get to the point where there is a strike or a lockout. But I mean, I'm scared for the sport, and I love baseball. Like, it's my number one sport. I've loved the game since I was 3 years old. I don't want to see it go down in flames. So,
I mean, I'm scared for baseball too, because like all these leagues coming back now, like you could assume that like maybe their seasons will change, like their start dates will change. Like I know the NBA is most likely at least next year going to start in December and run through the summer, and baseball is done as well as it has largely because it had its own season. Like it was all that was on. But like honestly, like for me, if you're telling me I have to watch the NBA or baseball, I'm watching the NBA. And it's not even close, to be honest. Like I'll maybe put the MLB radio on because I have the app and listen to the game, but you probably won't get my eyeballs over basketball. Like there's a little chance.
And that's the problem that they're running into, especially now. I mean, they had a chance with everything that was going on. They had the chance to be like the absolutely only sport on. This was the chance to get fans back. Because like, basketball's not on, hockey's not on. All right, let's throw on some baseball. Let's watch that. This was the chance, and they completely shit the bed on it.
Yeah.
And now it's really going to cost them.
Yeah. So I want to. There were a few cameos in the doc. Pat. I think we're gonna get into like some fun.
All right.
And I didn't prep you for this question, so I apologize. Who were you like really excited to see? Who did you see? They're like, oh yeah, I remember. I missed that guy so much. Like for me, it was Kerry Wood.
Yeah, I think
was
it was
so
Kerry
excited
Wood.
he was in there. Like,
yeah, I think it was definitely Kerry Wood.
he was nasty. Oh my! Like, I don't remember him being as nasty as that like highlight that they showed. Like he was so good.
Yeah,
So good.
Kerry Wood was actually absolutely a stud. I didn't realize he was only 20 years old that first year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty nuts. Like
He was so
I
good.
miss him. He was literally one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the league at that time. Yeah, that's just it's insane.
I mean, because the Cubs had a few of those pitchers, but his was the one that ended like really early due to injury, right? Or was that Mark Pryor?
Mark Pryor.
That was
Yeah,
Mark
I mean,
Pryor.
I think Wood ended up getting hurt later in his year, but it was Mark Pryor.
Yeah. Because Kerry Wood was around 14 years. So yeah.
Yeah, Pryor was a complete. That was absolutely. I feel bad for him too. Like that should have been.
That team was so fun to play with in like MLB, like just to have that pitching staff and because their lineup was kind of trash in those games. Outside when they had like Soriano and like Carlos, they had Carlos Lee, right? That was the guy.
Yeah. I mean, you just look back. Wait, what did they have Carlos Lee in 2000?
I don't know.
No, I don't. Shit, I don't remember.
I feel like Carlos Lee.
No, I don't think they had Carlos Lee. I honestly don't remember, to be honest with you.
He was one of my favorite MLB players of all time in video games. Dude just hit fucking bombs.
Yeah.
So I had Bryce Harper sent out an interesting tweet. When Rob Manfred spit all over himself on ESPN, he tweeted at the Eagles saying, "Eagles, what up?" or something like that. So it made me think, like, what baseball player do I want to see play another sport? And obviously, like, being a Yankee fan, I copped out a little. I went, like, Judge and Stanton playing football or basketball. Yeah. Mike Talkman playing football because he did play football in high school. He picked off Jimmy Garoppolo. Fun fact. But who did you come up with if you came up with anyone?
And I just think back for those who didn't see it in spring training, the Mets were playing the Astros, and it was a wild throw to first. And Pete Alonso has to come off the bag, and he jumps up to grab it, and it's Josh Reddick running down the line, and he hits Alonso and then just fucking falls.
Reddick falls.
Oh, okay. If you look it up, it's absolutely crazy. So I mean, I would love to see a guy like Pete Alonso, built like the brick shithouse that he is, just a big monster. I wouldn't mind seeing him play a little football. I don't know what position, maybe like edge rush. I don't know really how quick he is or anything like that. But I could see Alonso dropping some people in football.
I think I'd like to see Yadier Molina play hockey. Put him in goal. Put that glove to work.
Yeah,
all his reflexes. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that's not pretty bad either. Yeah, that's pretty good too.
Obviously, my mind first went to I'd love to see Christian Hackenberg play baseball. That's that was number one in my head.
A
Christian
lot of
Hackenberg,
players.
For those who don't remember, was technically a quarterback on the New York Jets roster that didn't pan out. But yeah, he made his switch to baseball allegedly. I don't think it's gonna last.
A lot of guys, it happens. Stuff like that does happen. Guy like Andy Dalton, I believe. He was a baseball player. No, was it Andy Dalton? No, it's Brandon Weeden. Excuse me, Brandon Weeden. For those who may not remember him, drafted by the Browns a few years ago. He played a couple years of minor league ball. He played a couple years of minor league ball. He couldn't handle, so he decided to go back to football. Russell Wilson played some minor league ball, I believe. Then he went back to college. So, you do see those two sport guys. If one doesn't work out, they'll go the other way.
Yeah, I don't see this one working out for him, though. I heard his high school stats. He had, I think, a 4.11 ERA so that's not good. And then
I mean, I'm not saying a team is going to give him a shot, but
and then he hit 300, which is like, yeah, hitting 300 is great, but like fucking Javi Baez hits 800 in high school. Like hitting 300 in high school is not. It doesn't spell.
Yeah, you got to hit
smell pro athlete.
Yeah, you got to hit like 400 at least if you want to be like,
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't really think of any other ones like.
I just immediately my head immediately went towards that clip. If you get a chance, or any listeners, just look it up. Pete Alonso, Astros, whatever it is. It's just funny. I remember them watching the game, and they were just talking about how, I think he's ready for football season or something like that. So,
I would like to see Jose Altuve play running back and just get decked by every middle linebacker in the game.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's small, but he ain't like ripped. I mean, you look at a guy. Remember Maurice Jones-Drew? He was like 5'5", but he also had like a 23-inch neck.
Yeah.
Like he was just massive. So,
for sure. I do think like baseball is like a tough spot to do the comparisons with, because I know baseball players are very good athletes, but it's just very hard to picture them doing other things because like the athleticism they show on the baseball field doesn't always translate like easily to other things. Like you could easily see LeBron playing football, or
I kind of
like that.
I go the other way. I think you could easily see any baseball player playing any other sport. I don't think you can easily see a basketball player playing baseball or seeing a football player play hockey or whatever. Like I think baseball players would generally translate to being the most athletic on any a field you put them on. Maybe that's just me who thinks that, but that's just what I think.
No, I mean I agree with you that I don't think anyone could play baseball. Like I think
obviously every sport
players can play baseball.
Every sport has, every athlete in every sport has to have that specific athleticism to it. I'm not saying people who play baseball are more athletic than people who play football. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm saying you could put a baseball player on a football field and they could show success, but you may not be able to put a football player on a baseball field and show them, them showing success.
Yeah, dude, could you imagine like like a big ass offensive lineman with a baseball bat in his hand standing in the box? Like
exactly. Like, are you gonna like? I mean, it's already been proven. Like hitting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball or anything more than that is considered the toughest thing to do in professional sports. Kicking a field goal is another one. I think like hitting a 3-pointer is one, but like hitting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, 90 plus, has been considered to be one of the hardest things to hit, hardest things in all sports.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I could barely hit like 75, so I could only imagine 90.
You want to go to let's go to the cages. I know a cage that bumps it up to 80. You think you could take that?
Yeah, I could take a pitch. Yeah.
No, I mean actually take a swing and make contact.
Make contact? No, I probably miss. Like, we wouldn't put that on Instagram. That's for sure.
We should go and I'll videotape it, and then you can decide if you want to Instagram.
It's going to be an easy decision because even if I do make contact, it's not going to look pretty at all. But yeah, I mean that's where. Wait, actually, no, it's not where we're going to end it because you mentioned kicker. Did you see this Rosa story from the Giants?
I did.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
It's wild.
But it is also the NFL, so it doesn't necessarily mean his career's over.
And it's the Giants again with another kicker problem. I don't understand. First they had Brown, who, domestic violence, and then this guy driving. I mean, he was definitely inebriated. There's no doubt in my mind. He had blood on his feet. He was running barefoot after. He had a hit and run. Like, I don't even want to joke about it. I just think it's like fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, it's nuts.
There's no need for athletes to do. There's no need for anyone to ever drink and drive. First of all. But I was listening to Humpty and Candy Day on ESPN New York 98.7 FM, and I've been doing that all day. I'm sorry, I've been doing that all day. I've just been like shamelessly plugging random things, like I'm a freaking professional. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so he was saying how the NFL has like a service where if you're really drunk and you can't drive home, like you call the number and like someone will come and get you, and that's it. But he says that players are afraid to use it because they don't want it getting back to their team. that they had to use it.
Yeah, I mean,
That makes no
I don't
sense.
see why
That
you
makes no
wouldn't want
sense.
to. Why you would want? I mean,
Because the thought is that
it's
they would
just
hold it against them.
no. I would
Half the
never hold
time,
that. No.
yeah, like if they hold it against you, then you don't want to play for that team. Like you're just being
Yeah,
a
no.
good fucking human being at that point. Like everyone gets drunk, or everyone has those nights. Like, but not everyone has those nights of, oh yeah, I should definitely call this number that can
Yeah.
pick me up, so I'm not a fucking headline. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't that story blew my mind when I heard that from Chris Canny. But anyway, long gone summer. In summation, it was fine. It was good nostalgia. Overall, movie making, if you want to call it. Not sure it's like amazing, but I think it's definitely worth the watch, especially if you're a baseball fan. I like how we didn't give a whole lot away, from it. Like I
Yeah.
think you could definitely go back and watch it.
I enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed it. It was also something nice to see, some sort of baseball on TV again. So
Yeah, and you didn't watch it live because I know you recorded it.
no, I had to record it.
Before they showed it, they showed the 2000 home run derby. It was fucking what was it? It was Sosa and Griffey, and A-Rod was in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
And A-Rod said something of like, "Oh, I want to," some story that Sammy Sosa said to him, like in spring training, or if Griffey said it during, I think it was Sosa, because I was laughing. He was like, "Yeah, I just want to do like whatever he does that makes him think he could hit 60 home runs in a year. I want to do that." And I was like, "Oh, that did not age well, A-Rod."
Yeah, I know. That's funny. That's another funny thing about watching like old shows or whatever. You get to see exactly what they're saying.
Yeah, and then my main takeaway from that home run derby, I only caught the end of it. It was so fucking boring. Like the production of it, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like
well, I think
people have to realize the home run derbies we see now, so much more electric than the old days. Even though Chris Berman is incredible.
The format of nowadays is so much better than it used to be. Like, yeah, you're right. Years ago, it was cool seeing guys try and hit. Josh Hamilton hitting 20 something in the first round. But I mean, I like the race against the clock. Like you said it, I'll beat it. Like it flows so much better now. And you saw what happened last year with Vladdy and Jock Peterson. They went to like quadruple overtime. I think that was sick. That's awesome to see. I think it was so much better now. I don't know anybody who actually hates the new format personally.
No, I don't either. I mean, case in point, in 2000, I think someone advanced after hitting like 4 home runs.
Yeah. Like you can hit 2, the guy you're going up against can hit 0, and you advance. Like come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it goes back to say, baseball, if you just get back relatively soon, you do have some things going well for you. Just Rob Manfred and your communication tactics may not be one of them.
Yeah.
But Pat, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
If you guys want to follow us on Instagram, it's at @the_end_of_the_bench. Twitter at @EOTB. Support link is in every podcast description. If you want to become a monthly supporter, 50% of your support goes to No Kid Hungry, and you will get a T-shirt. So with that, I'm gonna sign off. Pat, take it easy, man. I'll see you soon.
Take care, buddy. Thanks again.